thought you could break into song and start talking to all your clients and friends, but I'm afraid not yet. So, dinner's not quite there yet. We're going to grab your attention for a few more minutes, but I promise not to go on too long. My name is Elyse Allan. I'm one of your co-chairs, and I'm delighted to be with you this evening. Premier Alwood, thank you so much for those wonderful remarks about New Brunswick. I think your comments about engagement and the public policy process is exactly what everyone is here celebrating tonight. And so thank you. And I also have no doubt that we'll hear a little bit more about healthcare as the evening progresses. I'm certainly honored to co-chair tonight's celebration and to be part of this inspiring assembly of people. People who share a belief in the value of good public policy to build a stronger Canada. There are many reasons to be bullish about Canada's ongoing prosperity. I want to focus on one in my few remarks with you this evening and touch on some compelling areas, I think, for public policy action in the future. I actually just returned a couple of days ago from a meeting in GE where I had about 140 of my colleagues from countries all over the world, and we were talking about growth in the world. What are the exciting and emerging markets? Where can, as a company, where do we find growth? Where will we put investment? Where will we invest our dollars and hire people? And what was very exciting about that discussion is that ultimately we've come to a conclusion that there are really 12 growth regions, we think, in the world that we're focusing on. And I'm very proud to say, and I'm very excited, that Canada is one of those regions that we think are one of the great regions of the world. The main reason that we're looking at it is that when you look at the dynamics, and I know I was debating with someone today a little bit about these, but the dynamics of the world in terms of how will the emerging markets grow and what will they look for in terms of commodities. What stuff will their emerging middle classes need, and who will be there to provide the stuff and the inputs. And we think that those resource-rich nations, Canada being one, others like Australia, Russia, will have a great opportunity to serve in those markets, in part because of the resource riches that we're blessed to have as a company. And so these dynamics, as we see it, really does put Canada in the spotlight. But being in the spotlight, as I can say even this evening, has its challenges, but it's a tremendous opportunity, but it does have the challenges. Our resources and commodities sectors have been a huge strength for Canada, contributing greatly to our enviable economic performance for many years. You look at mining, oil and gas extraction, they contributed over $54 billion to our GDP last year. Agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting, all added another $25 billion. These industries, as many of us know, in turn stimulate significant demand for the manufacturing and the service sectors. The question I ask is whether we are really maximizing the opportunity presented by our resources and our commodities. There's a miner in the crowd. We need to be more than the proverbial drawers of water and hewers of wood. For the sake of our competitiveness, we need also to lead in everything, from the operating efficiencies to the value-added technology at every stage in these industries. And that takes innovation. The commodity and resource sectors, and Canadian firms in general, need to diversify into advanced and unique processes and products. Canadian ingenuity, as much as Canadian oil and Canadian minerals, can be our real advantage in the years ahead. But to do that, to realize that opportunity, we have to think creatively about how to capture all that potential. And here's one reality. Many of Canada's most highly valued natural resources, fishing, agri-food products, oil, natural gas, metals, minerals, forest products, just to name a few, are located in the remote areas of our country, These communities are now positioned to play a critical role in not only Canada's economic future, but in worldwide economic development. That's why we've recently launched a project in January to explore how government and business can, together and separately, drive expanded private sector investment in these remote communities. Our surveys and roundtable discussions will result in a report with policy recommendations. It will be released in September at the annual meeting of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, who is our partner in this venture. To realize the economic opportunity of our remote communities, so many of which are resource-based, we need to address many issues, such as the labor force, learning opportunities, transportation, and other areas of infrastructure. As an increasingly urban society, we need to somehow connect the vibrancy, the creativity, and the capabilities and infrastructure of our cities to the possibilities that we have as a nation in our remote communities. That type of engagement will pay enormous dividends for those communities and the nation as a whole. And let me give you one example of how all these pieces can come together. Say you're a mining community up in the north and you're with one of the small communities and now you've doubled or tripled its size as your mine has gone into operation. The healthcare services traditionally have been flown in on an occasional basis. Maybe there's a small clinic. What are the opportunities we have because of the resource base, because of our investment into that community, to now leverage the capabilities we have in our hospitals here and digitization and new forms of communication to in fact deliver health care in a whole new way, in a way that actually drives down costs, significantly improves access, and in fact leverages our resources to the north, our presence in remote communities, but also the incredible infrastructure that we have in our hospitals and our health care network in our urban environments. If we figure out those types of technologies, now look to Russia, look to Latin America, look to China and India, communities that again have heavy urbanization but are seeking new ways to service their remote communities. Canada can be piloting those programs. We can be bringing the solutions to the world of how actually to do this in a new, creative, and innovative way. To make the most of our economic potential, we must also develop sound policy in several areas, certainly when it comes to energy. EPIC, the Energy Policy Institute of Canada, is making an important contribution in this area, comprised of leaders from energy companies, energy consumers, and others who care about the future of energy industries. They're collaborating to talk about what does that future look like. We're in the midst of drafting a pan-Canadian approach to energy as a foundation for recommendations to government authorities responsible for energy and environmental policy. Canada's future prosperity will be driven in large part by growth in both sustainable hydrocarbon production and renewable energy. EPIC's vision includes a strong emphasis on technology and innovation to improve environmental performance and cost competitiveness across the full spectrum of the energy supply and use industry. We also see Canada emerging as a leader in attracting the human and the financial capital necessary to develop and commercialize the clean technologies that are moving throughout the world. In energy and other resources and commodities, Canada has such a strong global standing, but we can do and we can be so much more. By developing and exporting our technological and our managerial expertise, our distinctive products, our innovative processes, and our Canadian know-how, we'll create a new economic advantage for our country. In short, we'll become equally renowned for our natural resources and our intellectual resources, both of which will be in high demand in this global economy. If we get this right, There are endless opportunities in trade, in jobs, and in leveraging what we develop to diversify the economy by wisely reinvesting the capital from our resources back into the diversification of our country. This is a very exciting time for Canada. It's a time that demands a robust dialogue on how we can improve our competitiveness, our technology based on trade, and our quality of life. This kind of dialogue gets at the heart of what the Public Policy Forum is all about. Thank you. One of the forum's founding principles is that the business of government shouldn't be left to government alone. When the public, private, nonprofit, and voluntary sectors are all heard on the key issues of the day, better public policy emerges. That's why I'm proud to be involved with the forum, champion these frank discussions, and tonight to help celebrate the honorees who've made outstanding contributions to public policy and public management in our country. In my view, and by turning out in such numbers, I think in your view as well, c'est certainement quelque chose à célébrer. C'est donc avec grand plaisir que j'ai participé à cette soirée. An evening like this only adds to my confidence about our ability to generate thoughtful discussion and prudent policy around the issues I've discussed and the many that you'll hear this evening. By doing so, we'll seize the moment, harness opportunities now and well into the future for the sake of our economy, society, and our collective well-being. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.